some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
And my name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And my name is Riff Conner.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat Appendix, Cursed's second favorite.
And this week we are reading your responses to No Man's Wharf. And as you heard, yeah, I know, right? It is an awesome area. And we are joined again by an awesome guest. Thank you so much for sticking around, Riff.
Oh, thanks for having me stick around.
It's been a whole week. How have you been sustaining yourself?
I've been licking the underside of this table
For gum residue.
Yeah.
For human lichen.
Oh, God. Oh, man. I have enough problems with like flora and fauna being on the surfaces around me without throwing lichen into the mix here.
Well, there's lichen everywhere.
I know.
So. Yeah,
there's lichen where you are right now.
Lichen? You're going to love it.
You know, I can know it, Gary, but I don't have to liken it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
next time I see you in person, I'm going to get you drunk and tattoo lichen backwards on your forehead. So it's a constant reminder whenever you are in front of a mirror.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you what you'll lichen.
So as usual, we begin with the things we were either wrong about or things that we missed.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get us started here with Take via contact.
Yep.
And he says, Crestfallen Salden also gives another item if you meet certain conditions. I found this out in a funny way. I was checking the death plaque offline to see how many times I died. I had just broken 100 deaths, so since he was there, I talked to him to see if there was any new dialogue. And his response was basically something along the lines of, I see you've died a bunch of times. Maybe you should wear this ring of steel protection. And he gives me the ring. It was a perfect mix of the game being both helpful and condescending. But yeah, if you die 100 times, he gives you that ring in dialogue. Good to know.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention that because that same thing totally happened to me.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a priority to what triggers. And I did come back and talk to him, but when I talked to him, I got the soul vessel and didn't talk to him again. Like if I would talk to him again, I probably would have got the ring of steel protection because I probably did die 100 times.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that encounter. So
yeah, and I just picked it up on one of my Mass Effect inspired just Roomba runs, trying to get as much dialogue as possible. Yeah. And I have to say, just in general, like, calling out particular contributors, like Take brings the heat like every week.
Yeah,
so,
that guy's great.
Yeah, like he drops some science on us in a very real way. So thank you, Take.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Take.
Yeah. Zane says via the contact forum, I was wondering about the Blue Sentinel Covenant's placement in the Blue Cathedral. Do they also stand against the tide of darkness and decay, or are they like the Anor Londo of old, appearing to be defenders of the meek, but hiding dark secrets? You mentioned Mowlin running into trouble with them, but I haven't finished the game and don't know the whole story. On a mechanical note, their utility might be improved if they could also help players against NPC red phantoms. I suspect that they will become more useful as time goes on, and more new players join and need help, since right now the game is still new and may overrepresent experienced players. Having looked at the distribution of stats, kind of like in levels on that Far Fire, which is really educational at the very least. It seems like so it's a nice little like bell curve, like an upended, like most people are like middle level, and then there's a massive spike at 150, which I think is where the majority of people end up for their first playthrough.
That's the PvP standard right now.
Is it 150?
Yep.
Wow,
yep.
That's really high.
It only seems high because soul levels are different in Dark Souls. Like everyone on Facebook, the first week this was, everyone's like, "Man, I feel like I'm over leveling like crazy, but the game isn't getting too easy." And so it just has a different curve and it's longer, guys.
Yeah, I guess I was like, even on the second playthrough, I was like at like level 35 or 40 by the time I got to Hades. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, 150 is the accepted kind of cat or mean right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. Yeah, so that makes sense. Yep, I don't know. I would like to see how this evolves. Like, I would like to think that on the PC version, like a lot of that PC and online stuff would even out. Especially since I don't know, just that always seemed to be better on that platform.
Yeah, well, and the fact that with connectivity fix, we know they can manipulate that.
Yeah.
So could they manipulate that likelihood of invasion?
Yeah.
And likelihood of summoning Blue Sentinels? Like, it'd be neat.
Yeah, and it's just weird because I think that the likelihood of blue sentinels is directly affected by the likelihood of red sentinels.
Yeah,
not red
right.
sentinels, but the blood bros, and just how infrequent those are, and just how little that calls on you.
Yeah, and I will be, the outcry against that has been so strong, I will be really surprised if that's not adjusted at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we will see a change of that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's the question of if they just appear to be defenders of the meek but are hiding dark secrets is interesting in light of some things that we talked about last week, about how they might be tied to the smugglers in No Man's Wharf, but also in a sort of meta way, in that the Blue Covenant, the Blue Protectors, have a really huge reputation as being real shitty gankers on Reddit.
What?
oh,
Yeah.
Elaborate, please.
Just generally, I mean, maybe ganking isn't so much the right word, because it's not like they're doing anything really underhanded, but the PvPers on Reddit tend to get a bit shirty with people that like cast Chaos Firestorm on you as you're spawning in, or run away and behind a corner to heal and things like that. And so there is an outcry of people who feel like the protectors are not fighting honorably.
You know what? And I think that makes a certain degree of sense, too, because you get an access to more cracked blue eye orbs very early on than you ever have any access to red eye orbs. So the idea that, people can start invading earlier, like right from the beginning, kind of holds true. And, there's a direct correlation between how early can you invade and also how quickly do you begin being a complete shitheel.
yeah. Yeah. Like, it's that PvP honor, thing, too. Like, I could see that being... I was wondering whether it was going to be... they were using, like, life drain patch and shit. Which, like, those spells that can affect your friends. Which, if you were on our Facebook, which you should be, there's a hilarious video about that. Getting summoned in to help somebody and then just life drain patching the fuck out of them because it hurts everybody.
Man.
Yeah. So, trusty patches, trusty life drain patch. But also, as we mentioned, Moglin explicitly says that they're hiding a dark secret.
Yeah.
Back in his homeland, and that could be like a different sect. It doesn't mean that the Blue Sentinels are uniformly shitheels, but at least where he comes from.
But the Covenant that is explicitly about protection, running a protection racket.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, they could be, shitty in general. They just don't, I guess, like, the fact that this isn't a mercantile sim means they don't have any opportunity to do that for you. Even though, imagine the Blue Sentinels working perfectly, but they got to take, like, an item of their choice from your inventory or something.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like,
you summon them to defend you and they took half your souls.
They took
Yeah,
they took your feather.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's that's rough. Riff, do you want to read Ryan's comment?
Sure. Ryan via email says, I have a quick question about the house in Majula with the map in the basement. Has anyone else noticed all of the strange noises while in the house? This is even after killing the skeleton. I have searched the entire place and can't find the source of the noises. I think what he is probably referring to is the piggies, who are the first and worst boss in the game. This is actually pretty funny. I made it all the way through the tutorial area without dying, got to Missoula, and started wandering around looking, and oh look, piggies! Ow, God! And backpedal into the pit, and then I got the achievement. This is Dark Souls.
That is wonderful.
Those guys. Man.
Have you guys found the pig shield yet?
Yes.
Yeah, the porcine shield.
Yeah, a strangely porcine shield. The pig head looks eerily authentic, but it is an imitation. Not genuine pig. Though the shield's defensive capacity is ordinary, it may spook an unsuspecting foe because of what happened to Riff.
Yes.
Telling you, man, Dark Souls 2 humor.
Yep.
Porcine shield.
Like that totally seems like one of the fan-submitted shields, but that sounds like something that From did because they knew they would have pigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
and just for Fashion Souls, like people are going to use it because it's stupid. Yeah, I think the noises are the pigs.
But even still, I don't want to miss any opportunity to call out how awesome the ambient sounds in Dark Souls are.
Oh, sure.
Specifically, you linked that one. Was it Arcane Kids or whatever?
Yeah, the same guys who did Bubsy 3D.
Yeah, who took the they found YouTube videos and just made sites where you could listen to ambient noise from Dark Souls on loop.
Yeah, anywhere on Dark Souls 1, you can just kind of click a random area and you'll get their ambient noise.
Totally listening to that while riding at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even I'd used the old audio hijack on the previous episode because I couldn't find any music for Hades. I under Luca Teal's dialogue, I took Ash Lake ambient sound and put it under her voice.
That sounds super handy for for a tabletop RPG session.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, that is neat. So Sean, we already read his response in the main episode. He was the one who wrote in about the interpretation for the timey-wiminess being hollow, or the hollowing process, which
spacey wastiness.
Yes. Sorry.
Get your wacies and wicies and wimies straight.
Get your wacies and wimies in line.
But I will move on to actual responses about No Man's Wharf, starting with Doug. Doug says via contact, No Man's Wharf has to be one of my favorite areas at any Souls game. I love the theme, the way the enemies work together, getting covered with oil and then shot at with fire arrows, and how cool it was when the ghost ship rolls in. The boss is kind of lame, but on the whole, I love everything about it. This was the zone where Dark Souls 2 finally grabbed me. Not tons to add, but agreed.
Yeah.
I liked Flexile Sentry, but...
I didn't find him lame. But...
The lame bosses complaint is one that I hear a lot. It pops up on the Facebook thing every once in a while. And, although, on a guttural level and just on a, just holy shit level, the HSQ, the holy shit quotient is a little bit lower in this. The fights are a little bit more cerebral in this game than just thing huge, kill huge thing. Me feel huge for killing huge thing.
Go to things butt and stab it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little bit less of that.
I can understand being that it's something that's so directly influenced by Berserk that to miss having all the crazy ass demons type monsters from that.
Yeah,
is understandable. They could certainly have done a lot more of. Because they did a little of that because of this guy and the covetous demon and so on. But it really is a lot of games. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But you saying that also means that the other games did a better job of giving you that body horror type crazy demon design.
Oh, for sure. I don't think there's any disagreement. I just, and this is one of those things that's similar to that, the spacey wastiness, where it's if you don't like it, that's okay. As, on the record, favorite fight is Artorias. I like the duels. It works, it's mechanically really fun for me. Yeah. A lot of these bosses. So, but yeah, it's not wrong. As far as spectacle or design, it's not as strong, I think, in most of the bosses.
I think that despite my better angels, I'm a real big fan of spectacle, and I can totally talk about and I can totally appreciate and enjoy and love these little fights. But I can see where people are coming from on a first blush level.
I can see it. The example I always think is do we need more gaping dragons?
We really don't.
Because that fight looks so good, but plays so shitty, and that's what happens when you have a boss that is that much bigger than you.
Oh yeah,
they were never that good. They were never, or Seath or any of the huge guy fights in the first game are not that great.
Oh yeah,
as far as fights go, they look cool, but they're not very fun to play.
Yeah, like Storm King is more of a great tone piece. The Iron Golem is only neat because of the arena that you're fighting him in, right?
Right.
Right. Totally. I agree
and the best fights in the first one are Artorias and Ornstein and Smo, and the one in Taurus Demon and Capra Demon. There are basically the human-sized things that you're fighting that way. Are the better fights. Yes, they're maybe not as cool looking, but they are more fun to play. So, I'm not trying. I know you just said that the spectacle is. I'm not discounting what you're saying, but it's just. I feel that's never brought up when people are complaining about the human-sized enemy. That's
this is saying if they were saying, I wish that things hit me in the gut as much as they hit me in the head. which I think that Dark Souls 2, bosses hit you in the head a lot. In Flexile Century, we didn't talk about, like, cool, 4 swords. We talked about, like, oh, this is something that is designed specifically to punish you for, falling into an old tactic, right?
Right.
Like, that hits you in the head, whereas, something like, even in this game, like, Freya hits you in the gut.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so maybe if it's a... Good.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe in the next one they'll find that good balance between visual interest and tactical interest.
Yeah.
I feel like they do degree. There are bosses in all the games that do, and then bosses in all the games that don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they've found a balance for every boss in any of the games.
It's like a dynamic range thing, almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
So looking at the actual responses about No Man's Wharf, continuing rather, Levi via the contact forum says, I hated this area initially. The combination of darkness, rickety walkways, and the mixture of oil pots and fire arrows and the creepy, quote, graveyard shift bat monsters instantly brought me back to my first time in Blighttown. I think Graveyard Shift is referring to the Stephen King story? Yes, I believe so. On my first playthrough, I came back here to revisit Gavlin to sell some gear for souls. After an hour of relentless dying and getting lost, I finally found myself in the room where Gavlin should be, only to find that he wasn't there. Fuck the Wharf, I said. Soon after, I was summoned by a player there. When I came into this world, I was shocked to find it illuminated. I sent him a message, and he showed me the location of the Lockstone, and suddenly, I was okay with the Wharf. Lit up like the 4th of July.
Light is definitely a treasure there.
Oh, definitely. Huh. Yeah. That's a good story. Riff, what's Mike say?
Mike says, via contact, No Man's Wharf seems like the most out-of-place portion of this game. I still can't figure out its lore significance and why the pirate ship from the Goonies eventually takes you to the back doors of the Lost Bastille. Ultimately, it's not a very fun place. The enemy collection is limited and uninteresting, and the boss battle is equally as rote. I'm not really sure what to make of this place, but I'm looking forward to your thoughts on it. I can't agree with any of that.
Yeah. Well, as you heard, we really liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We drew a little bit of a lore significance just because of the areas that this zone abuts.
Well, and just also the Flexile Century description stuff is where like a lot of that lore stuff does come from. Yeah. It doesn't, to the point, it is an area that is not forward-facing in the grander Dark Souls story in that it only speaks to the infrastructure that was there in the past. It is not something that plays a part in what you're going to do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I could see that being a little bit unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Unlike some areas like later, like the Dragonary and they kind of cast light on things that you've already done. This is really it's like exploring an abandoned amusement park.
Yeah.
You're seeing
the vestiges. It's almost detective work in a way. Like seeing how did this society, break down as things got worse and worse. Right.
Right. But the answer to that does not lend itself to how you're going to move forward at all.
Right.
Which is fine. Like, it's still interesting, but maybe that's what you're picking up on when you say that it doesn't have very much lore significance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like having that sort of background detail, though.
Yeah.
No, me too. Yeah, I like that a lot too.
And at that point, it just becomes, how tolerant are you of, from using, space in this game to do something that doesn't move the actual plot forward.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mark says via contact, I have a few comments on No Man's Wharf. Firstly, all of the previous areas open into glorious, sunny outdoor areas. In stark contrast, No Man's Wharf opens to a cave that is darker than the tunnel you emerge from. It really sets the mood of the area from the outset. Secondly, I think light is used really well here, especially how a simple torch can turn a menacing Darkstalker into a cowering wimp. Despite complaints that From eased up on the darkness levels in Dark Souls 2, I think that still really works well here. Lastly, I enjoy the challenge presented by the lack of bonfire or major shortcut to the boss. Increase the tension throughout the level. When I finally made it to the fog door, I was out of spells and down to 1 Estus. Knowing how tough the trip back would be, I stood in the water in front of the fog gate, rifling through my inventory to determine a strategy that didn't require using a homeward bone, something I wouldn't have done if the bonfire was right there. Thankfully, I had some herbs that restore spell uses, so I used one of those and managed to beat the Flexile Sentry by kiting it around the room using every one of the restored spells. Such a great feeling to do that while literally running on empty. My joy was short-lived, though, as before heading to the Lost Bastille, I decided to go back and use the souls gained to upgrade my pyromancy flame and promptly walked into the water in the dark.
Oh, no!
I'm sorry to laugh at you, but that is really funny. Yeah, I think running on empty is like a thesis for this area, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To the point about the torch, I kind of feel not let down, but I kind of feel like I missed out a little bit on the experience of this area by getting that lockstone lit up so early on. Because I spent very little time wandering around in the dark in here. I wonder if maybe it wouldn't have been more effective, although harder on a new player, if the lock had been like nearer to the bell.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the actual midpoint of the zone. But anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I just like this area to me just tells me like that the torch is almost a vestigial thing in this game. Like that it was something that they initially developed around, but it quickly lost relevance because I got away with it for so long.
Sorry. It became a gimmick area for a couple, or gimmick item for a couple areas rather than it was supposed to be for everything. Like, I still think it's useful here, and it might just be my bad eyes or my TV adjustment. Like maybe I didn't adjust my TV well enough, but I still like to hear, and I think it's essential in the gutter.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the areas that really emphasize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe my opinion would be different. Like when I got to the gutter, like on my first character, which was a sorcerer, I just used cast light. So like in general, I think by the time I ended the game, I had about 7 hours of torch.
Even cast light lasts like a lot shorter amount of time than it does in Dark Souls 1, though.
True.
Like significantly less. Like cast light will get you through all of Tomb of the Giants, but it will not get you through all of the gutter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but again, running on empty, I really like that story about coming back right from the brink, and you know the details that he gives in his story kind of imply that this was, you know, he was a caster build, which put him right in a really good spot for the Flexile Sentry. But if he knew that, he wouldn't have gone in with the expectation that like I could win or lose this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see here. I want to read the Just Funnin' because it has a lot of Welsh names in it, and I don't want to put you through that, Riff, so why don't you read what Matt says, Riff?
Okay. Matt says via contact, as I was working my way through No Man's Wharf, I was reminded of how you guys have often talked about whether or not spaces look lived in, and that From had done a great job of capturing that feel here. I eventually started to wonder about the lives of the undead living here, and put together a backstory/theory in my head for them. It won't hold up to even casual scrutiny, but the theory I came up with amused me, so I thought I would share it.
Don't let that stop you, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Progressing through No Man's Wharf was just like walking through the kitchen living room of my house in college the morning after my roommates threw a party and everyone was hungover. There were bodies of people passed out in random places that were angered by you waking them. The lights had been turned off everywhere as to not upset people. A few people I don't recognize are sitting around the table drinking what I imagine to be coffee in the dark across from the Ferris's Lockstone slot. You had a Ferris Lockstone in your college apartment? And the party boat has somehow been lost and needs to be retrieved. Under this theory, the undead in No Man's Wharf are also eternally stuck in that morning after hangover, which I feel fits well with the overall purgatory vibe of the game. That's awesome.
I love the idea of hangovers being purgatory. Yeah. I like
I like that a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Before you read the Just Fun one, Cole, Peter on our Facebook page sent something to the messages, and I thought he had sent it into contact, but he did not.
Okay.
And I want to read it. It is good. So Peter says via Facebook, if it's not too late to write in about the old Dragon Slayer, I wanted to add some lore perspective to the discussion. During the last episode, I was very intrigued by the speculation that Ornstein and Smough could have been illusions created by Gwendolyn. I spent a long time during my first playthrough trying to reconcile Ornstein's two appearances in the Dark Souls games, and this theory rekindled my interest in the matter. I re-examined the fight with the old Dragon Slayer, and in subsequent playthroughs I noticed one important detail to support this theory that I don't recall being mentioned in the podcast. In the Dragon Slayer battle, When you get the Dragon Slayer down to about a quarter health or so, he will pause for a moment to catch his breath, allowing the player to get a few easy hits. It reminded me somewhat of the battle with our tragically mortal friend, Great Wolf Sith, when he limps near the end of the battle in pain and exhaustion. This exhaustion is something I never saw in Dark Souls with Ornstein and Smough, or any of the other bosses, and seems deliberately designed for this fight. It leads me to believe that the old Dragon Slayer is indeed a mortal person, and likely a very old person who is long past his prime as a warrior. The Ornstein and Smough you fight in the first game never tire in this fashion, and I think this is interesting evidence for Ornstein being an illusion and the old Dragon Slayer being the real knight of storied lore. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Any opportunity that they can take to build pathos into the boss fights is something that I really love. And just the idea of this, admittedly what is probably the equivalent of a god being exhausted by trying to fight you and, having fallen from what you know him to have been before. It's pretty sad. And again, it gets to that dignity that Miyazaki talked about in the original Design Works book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that theory a lot.
Humanizes or invokes sympathy for these characters is definitely a plus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like that touch a lot.
Yeah.
And also just confirmation by it supports something I already believe. Of course I like it.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Good job, Brum.
Yeah.
You're okay for now.
All right, Cole, wow us with these pronunciations.
Well, I read a couple of them out loud, and I listened to a couple on YouTube, but why don't we just go? So this is the just fun section. We're just doing stuff for fun. But Aaron Casagrande, via a comment on our episodes, for this one, if you want to leave a comment on anything we say, it's just Duckfeed.tv/BSC/ I believe this is 38. Or 38A. It's totally simple, right? But we do read stuff from the comments. But he says, this would probably have been more appropriate for the Forest episode, but I've only just come across this podcast. Thank you, and welcome to the fold,
welcome.
Aaron. Yeah, we're really happy.
You are now our student. You shall be our new pupil.
Anyway. I believe the mythology of Lordran was in some part loosely based on Welsh folklore. Ignoring the etymology of Gwyn and his kids, there are a number of parallels between the Mabinogion and Dark Souls 1 and 2. Mabinogion. There we go. For example, the story of Gwyn ap Nudd, a lord of Wales, who was forced into a quest to bring order to the underworld. The main thing I want to talk about is the story of Branwen Ferchlir. If you've seen the Disney film The Black Cauldron, well, the movie is based upon a book based on this story. The basic plot is that the King of Wales, Bran the Blessed, marries the sister of Branwen off to an Irish king. When news of her mistreatment meets Bran, he leads an army across the sea to fight the king Matholch. There we go, Matholch. Man, Welsh is just a nonsense language of fake people. Sorry. To denigrate an entire country, but yeah, that's what you are.
Especially to somebody who knows it pretty well.
It's all consonants.
It might very well be Welsh.
Yes.
Sorry, Aaron.
It's
do
all
better in sorcery. If
Use
you don't want
vowels
us to make fun of you.
Use vowels. That's all I'm asking of you. All right. So, I really don't mean that. It's totally cool, and I appreciate this, and that's why I included it.
Stop apologizing.
Okay.
Go.
The reason I feel that this is relevant is because a number of possibly superficial similarities. The first is that Bran is a giant. The second is because of the Black Cauldron itself. The war itself is between the giants of Wales and the Irish undead, who, when slain, would wake up inside the cauldron simply to fight and die once more. Finally, after the cauldron is destroyed, after the war is, quote, won, nobody comes out ahead here, the 7 survivors of the battle live in a world where time is broken for 80 years. I don't actually know how any of this is relevant, but I feel it is, and if not, hopefully it was at least interesting. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating, actually.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
I read those books, the Lloyd Alexander books. And I have like a really nice collected edition that I bought from Powell's. That's like the first collected one with all of them, like really early printing, the Black Cauldron books. And those are great. Those are very good young adult fantasy novels. And like the way that young adult novels, like now, young adult novels are kind of too good. Like it is too, like I feel like young adult, like the last time I tried to read a modern young adult novel, it felt like a pitch for a film. And this was back when they were a little dorkier and more innocent, I think.
Yeah.
But Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. And it gives me at least some stuff to search for, because I'm always interested in those, for as much as I made fun of the Welsh there, and those kind of like non-traditional mythologies that kind of rose up. And just that this is really interesting folklore that might have informed a thing that I really, really love. It is awesome to have that brought to my attention.
Yeah, that's a hell of a parallel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for submitting your comments. If you have comments, you can go to the actual episode, as Kole mentioned earlier, or you can just go to duckfeed.tv/contact, share that with us, or the Facebook group, which we mentioned earlier. We encourage you to do so, as next week we are talking about the Lost Bastille.
Yeah, the whole thing, not just the part you can get to right now. And we're going to be joined by Phil Collar from Polygon.com. And what I will say, because because of the timey-wiminess with travel schedules and all, we're recording this episode a little bit earlier than usual, so we gave you less time. If there's stuff about, Dead Man's Wharf, we'll read it and include it likely in the next one. Just so long as things work out. But yeah, we will take those as well. So don't feel afraid to write in.
Yeah, Riff, where can people check you out?
I've
asked behind the curtain. I've asked Riff that question 3 times tonight because we recorded on multiple things at once. So, and we've all been game about acting like I hadn't, but I'm ripping off the veil.
I have legitimately been slightly surprised every time it came up. I have not yet been ready for the question.
I thought you were just doing an amazing job acting surprised.
Oh, well,
because
since you asked.
Clockwork.
At Twitter, I'm at Rifflesby, and the game that I write silly dialogue and quest stuff for is kingdomofloathing.com, and I'm 1/3 of the podcast Video Games Hot Dog at videogameshotdog.com or on iTunes.
And once again, I will reiterate, it is awesome to have you on here. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, it's been awesome to do this. This has been a ton of fun. Yeah. If you guys ever need like another substitute or whatever, let me know.
Cool.
I'm down.
Cool. Yeah. And if anything else pops up, we'll keep that in mind. This has been very fun.
Yeah.
We have been recording for a long time, so we could do just a bridge version of the admin.
Yeah.
I think. Kind of first and foremost and new, if you feel like supporting the network in a very concrete way that will win you our additional Undying love, if you go to duckfeed.tv/tipjar, we have started a Patreon. And there is a Patreon link there. As little as $1 a month makes a huge difference. I don't want to sound like a Sally Struthers, ad, but it really does. Like if, a small proportion of people who listen to the show were willing to do that, that would let us, go do like the live show that we want to do with Watch Out for Fireballs and just, help us kind of make the shows better and keep doing what we're doing. Because, we love doing it, but we put a lot of work into the network. And, so we like the idea of there being an avenue for that if you are able. And we're not, the shows are always going to be free.
Yep.
We're not holding anything ransom. So if you're unable to, we still love you.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
But they'll love you more.
One of the things you should have learned from your parents is that there are degrees of love.
Yes.
When your parents tell you that they love you all equally, they're definitely lying. And now that I'm old enough to have many friends that have kids, I know that to be true.
There are these things called conditions.
Yeah. Parents do not love their kids equally. They tend to love one more than another. Yeah. Just throwing that out there, connected to what I was just talking about or not, but it is true.
We love doing these shows. You love listening to them. We're hoping on you loving listening to them more than we love doing them, and that gives us money.
And it is equal to $12 a year. So that is our hope.
Yep, it is a very delicate math.
Yeah. And you get stuff too. It's not just
Yeah.
So you can go to the page and check it all out. So
yeah, and there's cool stuff. It's like access and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you even take a moment to go look at that and express your interest in doing it, we will be undyingly grateful to you, because your time is also worth a great deal to you. And if you like us enough to even think about it, that is super cool.
Yep, we appreciate it. And that gives you one more unit of love.
And at the end of every year, you can tally these up for love points. And you can redeem them for either a mustache comb or a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah, duck feed wheel, duck feed deal.
Yeah, so I feel like we've underlined that enough. We have plenty of other shows, which, if you are not familiar with them, go to Duckfeed.tv and just look at the big roster and check it out, because there's a lot of good stuff there that we're very proud that we have made.
Indeed. And for the right now, check out some deleted scenes that happen right now.
Gavlan Wheel.
I don't know why I'm saying Humbasa. It should be Praise the Sun.
We switched to Humbasa for Abject Suffering, too, for the most part. Humbasa is just the universal. My friend Zach, who only listens to Abject Suffering when we don't talk about games, asked me, he's like, what the fuck is Humbasa?
Yeah, I just realized this is the chance that I get to ask you what the hell that means.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, it is the Praise the Sun of Demon Souls, rather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the chant, it is the Om, it is the mantra of the worshippers of the what is the equivalent of the Christian God in Demon Souls.
Gavlan Deal.
Cool.
Yeah, we record a full length practice run before we do anything. Right?
Yeah.
So I hope you got a couple more hours left. Yeah.
That's all right. I get to tell the story about the Homeward Bone again.
Yeah. Boy, do ya. And we get to hear it again.
Yeah.
We're going to react exactly the same way.
Did I sound like just enlightened enough at that? Like, did I see things?
That was good.
From a new perspective? Okay, cool. So I'll try and do that again the next time.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
I got some notes here for you, for your intonations. And...
Can it be more of an oh instead of an oh? I know the scriptwriter probably didn't put enough, just context in there for you on that one, but that's what erasers are for, right?
Gavlan Wheel.
That's the nice thing about working with somebody else from a podcast, is that they have the facilities to do that if the need arises. So
we can use all of our specific pod jargon.
Yes, we can.
Like how many loads did you get this week on your sods?
How many loads on your sods?
How many loads on your sods, bros?
That sounds dirty.
I just the list count is up, and that's pretty good. Or PG, as we say in the pod business.
Yeah.
PG.
Pod people.
Yeah.
Oh, I love loads.
Gavlan Deal.
Trying to pretend that I don't live in the middle of a burning desert.
Oh, yeah, it's getting to be about that time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I don't like to complain, so it's doing all right.
Cool. Yeah, I've got a good buddy, Nick, who does some shows on the network, is from, you guys are out in Arizona, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from there.
Area.
Yep. So he told me some tales about desert bears and sand corn and everything, and I just believed all of it.
Corn.
I just believed every bit.
Scorpions.
Oh shit!
Oh my god! I'm just imagining a cob of scorpions now.
Mesquite.
It's a skeet of scorpions.
That's the kind of mesquite flavor we call it. Desert Tex-Mex.
Crunchy.
Butter up some corn.
Some spawns. Some
scones.
yawns. Yeah, some yawns. Scorpions.
Okay. All right, so the beginnings of something that won't ever be a thing, but somehow combining scorpions with onions? Onions?
Scorpions?
Yeah.
Huh.
Or scorpion.
You peel the skin off the scorpion, and there's a slightly smaller scorpion.
Yeah, like a more oily, less like a scorpion pup.
Don't they already molt?
Yeah.
Possibly.
There we go.
So
they also make you cry.
Yeah,
Yep.
That is true.
Just thinking about them, theoretically.
Yeah. Or cutting them up if they're your pet.
Such a tragic beast.
You feel bad.
You had to do it to save it.
Yeah. Well, like it got bit by a zombie scorpion in one of the pincers.
Our only hope is to amputate.
Yeah, it's the only way to save
Jimmy,
you from
we're gonna have to put old Yeller down.
the Z venom.
And then you find out it doesn't make a difference at the end of episode 5.
That makes me think though. Like right now, scorpions. If there were zombie scorpions, I would fear them no more or no less.
That's true.
Like, that would have no impact on my life. If there was one species that I can have, get zombified. It might be scorpions.
If there was a zombie bullet, I would fear it no more, no less.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Scorpions are like the bullets of the animal world.
Designed only to kill.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It's the only animal that takes pleasure in killing. I've told you that story, I'm sure. But that's my one brief moment of Wikipedia vandalism, was adding that to the Scorpion page, and it got taken down in 3 minutes by some eagle-eyed Scorpion fan. The only animal other than man known to kill for pleasure,
except for the band The Scorpions.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, they kill it every night.
Yeah, I know.
For pleasure.
Oh, making songs about natural disasters. Kill millions.
Also, I haven't been able to find it, but one of my friends once sent me an image of a shirt that was made up like a baseball jersey, and it was this whole website with different animals. Like, it would just say the name of the animal instead of a team, and it just said, it had a picture of a scorpion. It said Scorpion, and under it said Nature's All-Star. And I have not been able to find it for the fucking life of me. I've looked so hard. Because I would buy the fuck out of that shirt.
Nature's All-Star. The scorpion is one of the stars of my favorite parable about the scorpion on the back of the frog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good parable.
I know, right? People can't change.
It's a good double.
Scorpion's a scorpion, dog.
Yeah.
Scorps can scorp.
Sucker.
Yep. Oh, man. Yeah. True or false? People in Arizona raise chickens specifically to hunt down the scorpions in their backyard.
I doubt that anyone raises them only for that reason, but from what I've heard, that is an excellent fringe benefit.
Just tossing eggs.
Yeah. At the scorpions. The eggs are
Why
ammo.
all these hard turds keep coming out of the scorpion hunter?
There's somebody that had never heard of eggs. I bought these for pest control, but they keep putting out these little round white things.
Is this where the scorpions go? Are these scorpion pots?
Oh, jeez.
Again, back to the onion problem.
They don't actually kill the scorpions. They just package them up for transport.
And then you buy them by the dozen and send them to your enemies.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, did you hear, Timmy, you got popped for attempted manslaughter? Yeah, no, you egged somebody's house. Scorpion bomb.
Yeah, Halloween is just like a crystal knocked level of tragedy every year. Just teens just tossing Scorpo bombs through your window.
It's like something a Spider-Man villain would do.
Specifically from the 60s. It's like something that J. Jonah Jameson would hire him and then regret it.
Man, do you guys read what the comics Curmudgeon?
No, I've never read it. I'm familiar with it though. I've gotten linked to it by searching things or from people.
He's been following the terrible adventures of newspaper Spider-Man recently, and the arc that is just wrapping up is Jonah Jameson getting revenge on Spider-Man by somehow having acquired an old set of Iron Man armor. And it's really shitty ancient 60s style bullet head Iron Man armor with the slot in the front for his mouth. It's
Having never seen any of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, who did they get to play J. Jonah Jameson?
Well, the ones that I saw, it was the guy that plays the Nazi leader on HBO's Oz.
Those are the original ones. That's J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, that's the name.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new ones.
I
The
haven't
reboot,
seen
I think.
Yeah, that should have been more clear. Yeah, because I can't imagine anybody else playing him.
That's one of the best casting triumphs in history.
Yeah, definitely. Although I kept expecting him to say something really, really racist.
Well, he does seem to like Spider-Man less when he turns black. So,
jeez, yeah, I don't know. I've never seen Oz.
It's really good, but it's not something you want to binge watch. I'll put it that way.
Is it that bleak?
Yeah, it's super bleak, and it does that whole. It was sort of the prelude to Game of Thrones style. No character is safe storytelling.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally, the only thing I know about Oz is that at one point in a season finale, someone takes a shit on another person who's passed out.
Yes.
Like, I heard that or read that somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's the entire body of my knowledge of Oz, other than that it's about prison.
Yep. It was the sort of nerdly lawyer guy who J.K. Simmons actually spends most of the show tormenting. Eventually has like a freak out and knocks. I've forgotten the character's name, but knocks J.K. Simmons out with a barbell and puts a weight bench over his chest and shits in his face.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always liked prison stories. I don't know if that's because of my upbringing, in a prison. I'm Bane. Then the shitty movie version of Bane. No. But, Shawshank Redemption turned 20 this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as old as you, Cole.
Just about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And it always will be.
Just,
that's the way time works.
Yep. Straight line. Straight line right to the grave. No. Yep. I was home this past weekend and they were like having events and stuff. I was too late to get a tour of the prison, which is too bad. But, oh well.
They'll let you sneak underneath the poster and crawl out through the tunnel.
Yeah. They have the tunnel actually there.
Nice.
Yeah. You can't crawl through it, but it's there. The shit is chocolate syrup.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's similar to how in Night of the Living Dead, how they use chocolate syrup for blood. At Shawshank Redemption, they use blood for the shit. So it's the circle of life.
Yeah. If I ever write my sprawling fantasy epic satire, the evil kingdom is going to be called Bloodstool.
Mm.
Yeah. So
man,
yeah, I know it's hardcore, right?
Kingdoms of Amalur: Bloodstool.
yeah, that's pretty metal.
Oh man.
It starts out with a wizard telling you that, like, as long as it's bright red, it's fine. Like, if it's bright red, it be ye not be dead, and if it's black, put it back.
like right up there.
Yeah. Yes, young knave. And then challenge the arbitrator of, I don't know.
The
arbitrator of shit. Frost Forest.
Ugh.
Yeah, Frost Dung.
Yeah, Frost. the smelliest giant.
Yeah. Hello. I'm sorry.
Are we doing this?
And we all pray that we will have far more soon